I say, who that? R.I.P. Tom Benson. Shout out to the whole Who That Nation. Now who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. I say who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. Oh, who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. I say who that? That fever, that flavor, that funk. You got that fever? Yeah, yeah, that fever for the flavor. Got that flavor? Yeah, yeah, that flavor for the funk. You got that fever? Yeah, yeah, that fever for the flavor. Got that flavor? Yeah, yeah, that flavor for the funk. I got that fever, my people. See, we not equal, my people. I'm like that dog saint underneath the steeple, my people. Got Drew Brees, he the feature, and our defense the sequel. The D-line and linebackers, man, they coming to reach ya. Make enemies some believers, cause we overachievers. DBs see 50-50 balls and we call them keepers. Y'all can follow this leader, cause Sean Payton will teach ya.
Another week of Saints talk. You know, powers that be tried to shut us down tonight. We weren't having it, bro.
Nah, it can't happen. Can't happen.
We here. No, we here.
Hell or high water.
Yeah, it's whatever it takes, man. You know, you had your little deal. I had my deal. We bounced back. We here. We here for the people. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for supporting us. Thank you guys for being subscribers. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you guys. So hope everybody had a good and healthy and safe weekend, long weekend. So this is our Monday. So yeah, hopefully everybody's safe and had a good time. So let's get into some football. Nick, I don't know what the big deal is for June 1st. No one knows what the big deal is about June 1st. Can you please educate us? What's the big deal about this date? Why does it matter? And why is it? Well, we could get into that and then we get into any like the Saints specific stuff. But just high level, can you break down the significance of that date?
So we talked about it a little bit on the members only pod, and it was a little bit convoluted how I described it. So I think I can describe it a little bit better. I played it back and I wasn't pleased with my explanation. But basically, the simplest way to say this is when they cut a player, there's dead money, and that dead money is usually the signing bonus that's remaining on the contract. So if you have a 4-year, $20 million contract or signing bonus on your contract, you can spread that out over 5 years. Say the length of the contract is 5 years, $4 million a year. So that would go on there. If you cut the player in year 2, you would have paid $4 million on the book, so $8 million. So the remaining balance of that would be left. So there'd be $12 million left.
Yeah.
So right now, post June 1st, let's say you want to get rid of that player. It's the second year of the contract. All that would remain on the books for this season is the $4 million. The $12 million you can push on the next year's cap. So you would be clearing $16 million in space. 4 would stay here. 12 would go to next season.
Okay.
Whereas if you cut that player on May 31st, traded him on May 31st, you'd have to account for the whole $16 million. Now, you can cut players and designate them a June 1st cut earlier than June 1st. So the cutting aspect of it really isn't that significant. If you were cutting a player and looking for that savings, you would have already done that. So for June 1st, teams that are tight to the cap, and there's more of them this year because of the way the cap went.
Yeah.
This is kind of the day where you're saying, oh, okay, trading opens up and teams can trade players. And that's where it becomes significant. I was a little surprised that we didn't see a couple of moves or hear a couple of moves, announced or anything like that. So that was a little bit surprising. I thought it would be kind of open for business right away, but that hasn't happened. But it is a significant date. I think it for a team like the Saints that needs to create cap space and there really aren't cuts to make. I mean, really, the only guys that they can honestly cut and save money would be P-Rob and Murray. And again, if they were doing those and they were trying to do something funny with the books, I don't really think it would apply there that much. There was really no hindrance in cutting either one of those players. So I don't think that's what they're going to do to create money. Yeah. So the next thing you look at is say, hey, like, is there a trade that they could make that would free up some cap space? Yeah. Maybe help them address a need and go about it that way. And I think that could be a possibility. Mickey Loomis himself said that June 1st was a significant date for them just because of the way their cap was. Right. You start boiling it down, that's where it goes is to that possible trade possibility. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's a good primer on it. I mean, did it make sense? Yeah, it did. It did for me. I mean, I typically think I have a good idea on that stuff, and then you say some stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, I just learned something new or forgot about that. And it seems like somewhere I remember like it being something, the case where like
half of it goes to this year and half goes to next. But I don't know if I'm thinking about that. Yeah, it's just one of those things that takes a lot of like explaining, hearing it over and over again. I thought you did a pretty good job about like explaining it out. So so a question: what are some of the moves that, and we're not predicting anything. I'm not asking you to predict anything because, man, good luck with that. But like, what's an example of some moves that the Saints could do June 1st? I know you mentioned maybe cutting P-Rob or Murray. Like, what are some of the things they could do that will allow them to maybe to generate some cap space or maybe acquire a player or, anything, right? Just what are some of the ways that they can use it like specific to this team?
So, I mean, basically anyone that has a little bit of signing proration remaining on their contract could be a possible trade candidate. Yeah. And I mean, that's literally everybody on the team because they just restructured everybody's contract. So everybody has some signing bonus, has a pretty big signing bonus number.
Yeah.
Beside their name.
Right.
So
right.
Anybody could be a possibility if there was a move that they had to make to clear up cap space, and they do. I mean, they do have to clear up some cap space. They gotta sign their rookie class. You need some operating income for the season.
Yeah,
players get injured, you end up having to sign somebody new. So they do need to make a move.
Yeah,
somehow just to bring those guys on. But I think there's moves they can make to still improve their roster. Mm-hmm. I think cornerback's still out there. I don't think that's a dead possibility of bringing somebody else in. I think they could very easily trade for a cornerback somehow. They could still sign one. I don't think that door is closed on either thing. I think they're going to be looking for him. So really, I mean, there isn't an obvious move where you take a guy off this team and they get better. I think everybody they need.
Yeah.
But you might have to look at the way your deck stacked and say, hey, would it be better without this guy and that guy? Do we have a better backup here than we do at this position? Mm-hmm. Can we acquire somebody to address the weaker position of the two? Mm-hmm. If the answer is yes, I think you have to look at that. And I think that's probably what they're going through now. I think there's more of and look, I don't think this is just the Saints. Just again, there's a lot of teams that are tight to the cap because of the way things played out this year. I think there's a lot of teams kind of looking at this, and that this is kind of like the third wave of the offseason. Mm-hmm. We'll see if it's active, but I do think that there are people talking, looking, trying to make something happen.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. One final thing, and I'm pretty sure someone else thought of it, just in chat, and I kind of thought of it as you was talking. How does it affect the team receiving? Does it have any effect on the team receiving the traded player?
Well, yeah, I mean that proration we were talking about. Going back to the example, you're trading a guy, he has $16 million on there. Mm-hmm. All that money stays with them, so all that would go is the base salary.
Okay. So you kind of,
or if a roster bonus has to be paid out on a certain date, that stuff would carry over.
Okay,
but all that signing bonus money stays with the team. You make the trade. So let me just look at the Saints, for instance. The very first player on their list. So Mike Thomas, for example, again, this is just the very first guy on the list of people I'm looking over the cap.
Chill out, bro.
I'm just looking over the cap.
We are not speculating. We are not speculating. We are.
So the names on this list are Drew Brees. He's off the team. Ryan Ramczyk, he has no bonus. Marcus Williams, he has no bonus. Lattimore, he has no bonus. So the next guy is Mike Thomas. He has a $1 million base salary. His bonus is $8.9 million. If you were to trade him to a team, he would cost that team $1 million this year. Right? So going down the list, Cam Jordan would cost the team he's going to 1.075. Armstead would cost 1.12. Taysom Hill would cost $1 million. Like again, I'm going back to what I just said before. Like they redid everybody's contract. So
everybody's
everybody's got a base salary that's incredibly low. So that's how that would work. I mean,
that's crazy, man. Listen, if any team wanna, this is an attractive team to trade a player from, right? Because you're on the books for these guys for like a very low amount of money. So that's just interesting. So the Saints, if they acquired a player, then again, if they acquired a restructured player, then they would be on the books for like a very low amount.
Yeah.
For whatever said player. So like if
And then you can restructure that too, right away. Right away.
Well,
you can
they are.
restructure it.
Yeah. You can take that 1 million and spread it out over 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of teams probably wouldn't have their guys, but if it's like a $5 million car, you can restructure that right away, push it in next year's. If it goes up to 10, you just kind of take all that and push it out, and player gets his money right up front. So yeah, it's a lot easier. I mean, you're trading for a guy on a contract. I mean, a lot of the bad money's staying behind, and you're just kind of paying for what you're getting.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense.
I'm trying to think like Mike Thomas, for instance. Basically, at this point, you'd be trading for a guy that has like a 3-year, $31 million contract. I think he has 4 years, but I mean, the fourth year, the number's really big. So in essence, you'd be trading for a guy 3 years, 31 million, no guaranteed money.
Wow,
and that would really be it.
That's an attractive.
That's what his contract would look like. Teron Armstead would look the same way. Cam Jordan would look the same way. All these guys would basically look the same way. There's no guaranteed money on these contracts, and their numbers are really low. So if they want to trade somebody, I think there's some value in that. Even if the team acquiring them is like, all right, well, an older guy, end of his career, we want him for a year or two.
Yeah,
that's a good trade for them. For one of their older players, even.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think there is some trade value with this team. It's just, we'll see if anything materializes. I'm not predicting a trade. I'm just saying that that's what the significance of the June 1st date is.
I got it. I mean, I will say this, and I thought of this as a topic, but I decided against it because we just did like a speculative podcast for members only. Hey guys, if you guys want to hear a second pod a week, NewOrleans.Football /subscribe, pick a tier. We just dropped the pod this past, it was Thursday or Friday. I forget the exact date, but we just kind of had fun on it, let loose, and speculated about some things that we don't necessarily think are going to happen, but just kind of spoke openly about it. So if you guys enjoy that type of stuff and all other different types of content, make sure you guys go and check it out. And you can get one of these too on the shirt on the site, right? Medium.
Yeah, and if you're listening, you ain't signed up to the site, just sign up now.
Yeah, come on, man.
There's going to be some things upcoming that are going to be covered, and be on the site, helps out. Give you a shout out during the show. You sign up during the show. Just keep it going.
Yeah, man.
Keep it going.
Become internet famous.
More than that, just help us. Help us keep growing the network, the show, the website, all that stuff.
Just two American grown boys trying to make a living.
That's it.
That's it, bro. That's it.
Time to eat out here.
I'm hungry right now. See you. So man, I'm trying to think how to bring this up. So let's just use Teron Armstead because it's someone that you just mentioned. Again, I was thinking of just this team and where they are, and they have some players, and your point drove it home more. They have these guys who you basically don't have to pay them much, and they're a really good player, right? And a lot of the reasons that you may not want to trade a draft pick is because of the salary that comes with a veteran, right? But if the salary is already paid, you're giving a guy, a mid-level contract because the Saints have already, taken care of all the money. Then, like you said, a guy like Armstead becomes really attractive, right? So say you're a team like the Chiefs. The Chiefs traded for that tackle from Baltimore, and they gave a pretty high pick from him. And I'm just using this as an example. If you're the Saints and the team wants to give you a first for him, for example, and I'm not saying that they would, that's something that you really got to think about, right? Because you may need a quarterback next year, and the more ammo you have, the easier it is to get a quarterback.
I wouldn't, though. I mean, the way they're building this team, it's not like being built for the future. They're trying to build it to win now, and I think changing course now wouldn't make sense. And that's why trading any of these guys, I think it's really hard unless you're getting somebody back that would help you more at another position with a more dire need. But it's really hard to even locate that hole where you can just take somebody off and you're better, or you're okay. I don't really see where they can lose a starter. So I think it would be a really hard decision to trade anybody.
Yeah.
And I mean, what you're saying has a lot of merit. It really does. And I agree with your point. It's just I don't think their philosophy aligns with that. Now, if they were to trade one of these guys and get a bunch of first round picks, I'd be fine with it. I mean, it would make a lot of sense, but it wouldn't make sense with the way that they've operated this year, because I think that there were a couple decisions made that probably weren't the greatest cap decisions for the future just to keep it together. And now if you were to act opposite of those interests, I think in retrospect, some of the stuff they did to get under the cap doesn't make as much sense.
But I mean, they kept their talent though, right? I mean, they could have kept Jackrabbit, right, without like a lot of cap implications. So
Right.
It seems like they kept their guys who were good players, and maybe you keep a guy knowing that you maybe eventually get to trade him. If you don't trade him, then he's a good player, right?
Yeah,
So,
I'm talking more like like a restructure to Cam doesn't really make sense if you're kind of looking at the future.
Yeah,
the
they kind of
restructure
had to do that though, right? Though they couldn't if you didn't restructure Cam. Like, how do you get under the cap? Or I don't know. Like, I don't think they had an option to restructure those guys. I kind of feel like, I mean, they structured the whole team and they're barely under the cap, right?
Yeah, but I think maybe you start looking at ways to get rid of some of players
instead
and
of
you just kind of restart it a little bit and maybe keep less of it together. And maybe you don't tag Marcus Williams in that scenario, and you just say, hey, we'll find another safety. We've drafted safeties really well over the years. We're not going to give him the next contract, or maybe you tag and trade him, and that's what you do.
Maybe they still do.
That doesn't, yeah, well, I mean, I think something like that would have already happened.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Because he's not one of those guys. All his money's right now. It's not,
that's
in
true.
the future. So there are just a couple things that I just feel like, I don't know. That picture just wouldn't align right for me. At that point, I'd say, well, why wasn't there more of a rebuild? Now you're kind of late to the game, getting started on this, and you have some of these cap implications. I don't know.
I get it. I mean, but if a team, I mean, they're not the only team in control of this neither, right? So, say for instance, team is in OTAs, some guy tears his ACL.
Sure.
You need a left tackle, and they say, hey, Teron Armstead, like you just have to evaluate it. And I'm not saying to do it again. We're just speculating here, but you got to at least think about it, right? I think that's a conversation. If someone said, I'll give you first for Armstead, I mean, my guess is they probably, I mean, I don't know, would they take it? I don't know, right? I don't know if he's worth a first. If I'm a veteran, if I need a left tackle when I get Teron Armstead, I'm excited. But if you're the Saints, you're like, well, his contract is about to be up. He's going to want to get paid, and he's had a history of injuries. I just think you got to think about the decision. I agree with you that the way they've operated will go against that, but that's them in they're in isolation, right? But there's other teams in the league who have to make decisions too, and so sometimes those hard decisions they come up. But it's just interesting. But we'll see. Yeah, this is a fun question. Just before we jump to the next topic, I just want to say I'll trade anybody on the Saints team in 2 firsts for Russ Wilson, but that's just me. You can answer that one, Nick.
I mean, if you can get a superstar quarterback,
you
got to entertain a lot of stuff. I mean, there's nothing more valuable
than the quarterback. Yeah, and no matter how much you like the player, I love Mike Thomas on the Saints. He's a great receiver, but he's not a quarterback, right? So it's I'll say this: it's easier to find Mike Thomas than it is to find Russell Wilson, for sure. So, all right. So moving on to the next topic. So I was looking at just kind of like looking at the depth chart and just kind of seeing, just taking another peek at some of the weapons the Saints had, and I pulled it up just for talking purposes. And I would say that the 2019 team, 2020 team had better weapons than the team as it's constructed today. Forget about injuries, just how they built the roster. So question for you, when you look at the 2019 Saints depth chart and the 2021 Saints depth chart, like how do you, like when you compare those against each other, like where do they stand, right? Do you think they have better weapons this year, or you think they did that 2019 season? And just to name off of the depth chart, Mike Thomas. Oh, this was 2021. Let me go to 19. 19 was Mike Thomas, Deontay Harris. I think he was a rookie. Kershawn Hogan, Austin Carr, Traquan Smith, Ted Ginn, Josh Hill, Jared Cook, and Dan Arnold. And then running backs were Kamara, Washington, and Murray. So the same. So this year they have Kamara, Murray, Washington, Montgomery. For tight ends, they have Nick Vanette, Troutman, Griffin, and some guys I'm not going to name. And then for wide receivers, Mike Thomas, Traquan Smith, Marquez Callaway, Deontay Harris, Juwan Johnson, Lil Jordan Humphrey, and the kid they drafted this year. So when you compare like those two, like who would you say probably has the edge as it pertains to, offensive weapons that a quarterback can get the ball to.
I mean, that's tough, man.
I know
It really is.
like darkness against darkness is bad.
Like 2019 was really just Mike Thomas and late blooming Jared Cook and Alvin. Ted Ginn was over.
He's done.
I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4.
You like the wide receivers this year, though, right? I mean, you team Callaway.
I think the person delivering the ball is a little bit different. So I think that changes.
Okay,
forget some things. But like, look, I mean, Taysom Hill was the number 6 receiver on that team.
I forgot to mention Taysom,
man. Come on, man. That's outrageous.
I forgot to mention Taysom both times.
My bad. Absolutely outrageous, man. So I don't know. I mean, I think this year could be better. It can't really be that much worse.
Oh gosh. I would probably
if Alvin's healthy and Mike's healthy, like this year probably wins. If you get 17 games out of both those guys, I think this year probably has better weapons. Alvin only had 500 yards that season receiving. So
Jared Cook he ended that season looking
he
like
did. I was high on him.
Yeah. So I think we have this notion in our head of Jared Cook, and that Tampa Bay fumble is just unforgivable. Like that can't happen. But for the most part, I think he had moments that season, and particularly to the end of it, I think he started to look like he could be a big part of this offense. So, you got Kamara, Thomas, and Jared Cook, who was kind of showing something there. Like, so I guess the first thing I would say is there a guy on this current roster who can approach what Cook was showing at the end of that season? And I'm not sure that they have that guy. Not one guy, maybe collectively, but not one guy.
I think the receivers are better on this team for sure. For sure, I think they're better.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Ginn was done. Traquan had a horrible year. He wasn't there. I think Traquan will be better. I've said it a million times. I think Callaway's an upgrade. I think Deontay Harris is probably a better deep threat than Ted Ginn was in 2019. I mean, if he has 5 or 6 big catches, I mean, he exceeds the 400 yards that Ginn had that season. So I think Deontay could match that, and then you get better production out of the other guys. Tight end, I think, is probably worse. Troutman could surprise. I like his potential. Yeah, I like his potential. I wouldn't place a bet on 700 yards from him at all.
Mm-mm.
I don't even know where I'd set the over-under. Is it 500?
Ooh, answer the question.
Do you think that's a fair spot to put it?
What did Cook have last year? Let me check.
I have no idea what Cook had last year.
Sorry, I got one of those mechanical keyboards and it's really loud. So, all right. So Jared Cook, 2020 regular season, he had 504 yards.
So
can Troutman equate? Can he get to where Cook? I see the Fiji.
What is that? 25 yards a game?
No, I see the Fiji.
What's 500 divided by 17?
Don't ask me. Let me check.
This is bad production value right now.
Oh, is that like? No, that can't be right. 500 divided by 17. 30 yards a game, man.
Yeah, 30 yards a game. I think he can do 30 yards a game.
Yeah.
I think he can do 30 yards a game.
I had to double take. I was like, is that number right? 29.4. Wow.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because 66.6 used to be we had to get to 1,000 a yard a game. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, I think he can do that. I think he can do it.
He can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that's not asking for much, man. That's really not asking for much.
That's bottom of the barrel. That shows how bad.
You don't even have to get 30 a game. It's like if you had a couple big games, a couple bad games, it offsets. So
100-yard game and like you're like way above the curve. Yeah. I mean, that kind of just goes to show like how. Man, I thought Cook was a little better than that last year, but he had a really bad year. I mean, 500 yards, 30 yards a game out of, that's not good production at all. I mean, I'm not here to bash Cook. I mean, he's on another team now. I was water under the bridge.
16 games, I'd have been like 33, 34 yards a game for him.
That's not. Yeah, you makes even more sense why they released him. Yeah, I think so, and I think that Troutman, and you can speak to this, I think he gives you more than Cook did. I think he can do more, right? Like he can block better in both aspects of the game, and he can give you, I'm not saying he's going to be a better player, but I think he can, I could understand that move, like looking at it through these lenses.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Cook had a bad year.
It's a really bad year.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of looked the playoff game.
He looked old at times. Like it never came together for him. And I mean, he went backwards. I don't know. It was a weird year. He's bounced around a lot. Maybe he'll have a good year in the new system, but there's a reason he hasn't stuck anywhere. And it's just, he's one of those guys that just has always been on the edge of giving you that next step, and you can be the team that unlocks it and he gets the next step. And I think you see the flashes, and then they just don't really ever equate to what it should for him.
I mean, he's 34. So
yeah, he's 34, and he's just been on that edge of that potential forever.
Yeah. He's been riding that potential bag for like his whole career. Yeah. And that year in Oakland.
I kind of hope that Davenport doesn't end up being that type of player, but he could. This is kind of the year where he's got to change the narrative.
Man,
but he's that type of player where I think you see the glimmers and the flashes, and you think, all right, this is going to be it. He's going to do it, and then it doesn't.
I just want him to like tweet something or post an Instagram photo. This is not fair to the guy. It's not fair, and I apologize in advance, but I just want to see something football related. That's all.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
he
isn't really a guy that lives on the internet though. So
I know, but I just see like the anime.
I know where you're coming from.
I know.
I know where you're coming from.
It's not fair though. That's what I'm saying. It's not fair. This is Kevin's own. It's in my own head, but I just want to see, like, show me an off-season workout, man. Where are you? What are you doing? I don't know, man. I think the career to this point has led me to this point, and it's frustrating because, like, I think if, like, I don't know, and there were some questions during the draft about his personality, right? I remember, I forget the guy that writes the, man, is it the guy that, who?
Are you talking about Bob McGinn?
Yeah. Where he did the article where some of the scouts was worried about how he was wired and stuff.
Yeah, Bob McGinn.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's fair or not. I don't know, but it's just like, I wonder now, right? Like before I was like, oh man, I like to play video games too, right? Whatever. I got a PlayStation 5 over here. So do you. And I can understand it now, man. If I'm a scout, I'm like, yeah, I just, a lot of interest. I don't know, man. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to him. But I think that's where I am. I don't know, man. I don't even know how to say what I'm saying, but I just want to see a little bit. I just want to see some football on this timeline. That's all. Just work out with Jason.
Which team do you think are you taking? Do you think has better weapons?
Good question. I'm going this year. This year.
It's got to be this year. This year has potential, at least. 19 is confirmed disappointment, kind of, beyond Mike Thomas.
Yeah, easily. And I mean, what did Cook do in 2019? 19, he went for 705. 705. So I'm not going there with Troutman. I don't think he's going to have as good of a year as Cook had in 2019. Not statistically, but because Cook had some rough moments in 2019 too. Like he's had rough moments every year. He's been here both years, right? And that's just the truth. It's not a bashing thing or negative, speaking against someone that way. But yeah, I think Troutman he can get you 500 yards, and I think some of the other things he does, just being able to kind of be more versatile tight end. We'll see. I think you can maybe break even there potentially if you look up in some ways, and then receiver, right? I do like, I think Thomas, if he comes back healthy, that's a big thing. Deontay Harris is on that 19 team. He's obviously, a better player now. And now you got Traquan Smith. I would say he's a better player now. Same case with Harris. And now you're comparing Ted Ginn and Austin Carr against Marquez Callaway and the rookie. This is not bad. This is not good, man.
Who else they got? Esop Winston.
Who?
They got a handful of other guys.
I mean, they got Juwan Johnson, Jake Lampman, Esop Winston, Kawan Baker, Jalen McClinsky, Lil Jordan Humphrey. I mean, it's not good. This is a bad situation. I'll say this.
I don't think it's that bad though.
I know,
really
I know,
don't.
and I triggered you with the wide receiver slander. My bad. I mean, I'll say this: Marquez Callaway and Traquan.
I mean,
Smith.
hold up though. How good is anybody's number 4 and 5 receiver?
Yeah, but what about number 2 receiver?
I think they're fine there. I think they'll be okay.
So who's the Saints number 2? They don't have one. They have a bunch of 3, 4, and 5s, right?
I've just never felt like they've really been built like that though. When have they ever had like a superstar number 2 receiver? It's just the scheme usually gets guys open. They usually have one really good receiver. Scheme gets people open. Quarterback gets them the ball. I mean, I don't really think you're at a point anymore. Like last year, I feel like it was the antithesis to that, and they went out and built the team a little bit differently because the quarterback couldn't really throw the ball that well anymore, and they needed to make things easier for him. So you tried to load up with talent. Granted, you don't have the same guarantees at quarterback, but I think they probably feel like whoever plays quarterback is going to be able to deliver the ball a little bit differently. And you can kind of rely on the scheme a little bit more instead of needing 2-3 guys that get open within 1.8, 1.9, 2 seconds. I mean, because that's how quick Drew had to get rid of the ball. I don't think you have to play like that anymore. So I think you can kind of go back to constructing the team like you used to, not investing. Look, this isn't a team that ever like really spent money at wide receiver until Mike Thomas. Ever. Like nobody was well paid. They were never at the top of the league in any of that.
Didn't they pay Cook? No, they traded Cook before they paid him.
Yeah, they traded Cook. Colson was never, a super high salary guy. Nobody ever was. They've never valued the position like that because they've been able to get guys open.
They paid Jimmy. They paid Sproles.
Jimmy's.
They paid Kamara. I'm just thinking of the weapons that they've paid. I'm just thinking off the top of my head some of the guys that they've paid.
So yeah, I mean that's just really never been the way that they've built the team. And look, it might be hubris at this point, with the different quarterback, and you'll find out possibly that's the wrong approach. But man, I've seen a lot of people get open, and a lot of guys that aren't exactly top tier talent. I've seen guys that got open here go other places and not get open. So
Willie Snead,
Meacham, it's Jimmy Graham.
He was kind of washed.
Jimmy Graham.
Yeah. But that offense, man, they had him blocked.
Everybody. Like who's left here and thrived?
Rob Ninkovich.
Like nobody. Who?
Rob Ninkovich.
I mean, Cook's really the only one that I feel like left and got the same or better numbers elsewhere.
Cook? Who?
Cooks.
Oh, Brandon Cooks. Yeah, but I mean, that dude been traded so many times, and Texans talking about trading. He's like, no, y'all not trading me. So I mean, you get that. I mean, him and Mike Thomas couldn't coexist. That trade had to happen. That just I get that.
I think there were concussion concerns there with him too. So.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Yeah, I'm just thinking like, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, they had the tight end that was in. I mean, no one's significant, right? Just guys who kind of stuck around. Like Dan Arnold is probably as good as a guy that left and got a little bit better, but not to the point where you feel like, oh, this guy got out the building. They don't let guys out the building. I mean, Cameron Brate
has had like a quietly solid career as like a blocking tight end. He got out.
Yeah, that's the guy I was thinking about. Yeah.
I think they probably still value him to some degree, but yeah, I mean, we're going way down the roster. I mean, everybody has those mistakes. Cameron Brate was in the building and got you can't really count those kind of guys, like the core players on the team.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I guess the way that I look at it is, I think the biggest problem that I have with the offensive weapons that they have is just things have to work out. Like, what you're going to get from Mike Thomas. You know what you're going to get from Alvin Kamara. You kind of, and then with Emmanuel Sanders, for instance, you've seen him do it his whole career, right? And you saw him come in San Francisco and do it. So you felt good about that, right? Now, I was like, Traquan Smith is in his year 4, right? And he's not done it. So now you're like, oh, well, guy can give him the ball now a little bit deeper, and the college Traquan is going to come out. I'm like, all right, maybe, right? But maybe it's a big maybe. Marquez Callaway, the same thing. He's a big dude. He could run. He's built nicely. He looks like a wide receiver, right? But he was an undrafted free agent who maybe he makes a jump. Maybe he's the same guy, right? So it's just a lot of questions. Like, they drafted this rookie. Okay, he's in the 7th round. I mean, I'm not trying to demean these guys, but like, that's not a highly coveted player. So Jawan Johnson. I mean, is he a tight end on another team? I don't know, right? It's just like it's a lot of maybes and a lot of questions, and the more questions you have, the higher chance you have for something to go wrong. And I think that's kind of my issue when I look at the weapons that they have. Is just everything has to work out right. Trotman has to be good. Traquan has to be good. Callaway have to be good, and no one can't get hurt, and then they'll be fine. But if Mike Thomas has a broken toenail, then the offense gets blown up, and I think that's kind of my issue with who they have right now.
I mean, we'll see. I don't think that. Again, I don't know who they add to the team that really changes the picture. Because for me, it's the quarterback, and if the quarterback can get these guys the ball, they can. If they can't, they can't. But this isn't like a team where everything's built on the receivers winning one-on-one isolation routes and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Guys are schemed open, and
absolutely
either they can run the routes or they can't. And you could spend a lot of money on that. You can, but I just think that time's proven that you don't have to do that in this offense. I think the offense is going to make these players get open, and the quarterback get them the ball. Granted, again, I'm going back to not to belabor a point, but I just think the way things were as Breeze aged, you really had to do a lot to help him. And that was the thought process behind last year. It was one last round, go all in, spend the money, help him out, make things easier for him.
Right.
And that's how they had to win. And I think that maybe last year you needed, all that stuff, guys to get open more. But you give Sean that extra half second back to scheme these guys open, I think they're going to get open. And maybe it's wrong. Maybe they won't. Maybe they made a fatal flaw not investing in that position. I don't think that's going to be the case, though. I think that the offense is going to have its numbers. I think either one of these quarterbacks is 4,000 yards. I just think that the ball's going to move. The issues is going to be the mistakes. And I don't think you get the week 16, 17, and you're looking at it like, oh, man, the wide receivers held back Taysom Hill. The wide receivers held back Jameis Winston. I think the thing that's going to hold those guys back, if we're saying that, will be those guys. And I don't think it's going to be, oh, if they had wide receiver 2, it would have made a significant difference. That's just, look, and I could be wrong, but I think with the way the team was built, if you're spending money, like there's still multiple spots I'm spending that money before wide receiver.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the Saints agree with you, right? Because they feel better. They feel last couple of years. I mean, I think maybe was it the last 3 years, people have been begging the Saints fans, like, oh, get a wide receiver, pick a wide receiver, pick a wide receiver. Every year is pick a wide receiver in. They haven't, right? So they feel better about these guys than the fan base perceive. And, I think the thing that gives me hope about it is it's not any one individual guy, having this breakout season. I think it kind of goes to a point that you were alluding at, or not even alluding, just flat out making. And that is, I'll say it a different way. And, you watch a ton of film more than me, obviously. But when I watch it and I watch the Saints, I know how hard it is to play offense because the field is so condensed. The safeties are not backpedaling, right? The safeties, you have no threat of the deep ball. There's none. So it's almost like every time the Saints played on offense, they were in the red zone, right? Because the field was so condensed and the defense could play so tight, right? And that severely limits what an offense can do, right? It severely limits what an offense can do. If the safety does not have to worry about a player going deep, those underneath routes are harder. The timing has to be so much better. Everything just has to be so much cleaner. And so, I agree with you now that, if Deontay Harris get behind you, Winston gonna let the chopper sing, right? He's gonna throw it. In fact, that's read number 1 for him, right? And so all he's gonna do is take that first time where he get a player, a wide receiver, someone gets behind someone, and it shows up on film. And now you got to start respecting the deep ball again. And now the Saints get to play with the whole field again, and the offense starts to look like a semblance of what they used to have. And I think that's the point you were alluding at, and I 100% agree with it. But it has to play out that way. But I do think it's going to be a big deal being able to play like with the whole field and not just sideline to sideline in 15 to 20, 25 yards maybe down the field. That's a condensed offense, and it's hard to play out. It's hard to play that way in the NFL.
Yeah, I just think that maybe last year's luxury has become confused with the necessity. And last year's luxury never even took the field with the biggest luxury on the team, really. outside of a couple of games. Like there really wasn't this offense with Mike Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, and I really think that the conversation's gotten confused. Like, oh, Emmanuel Sanders is gone. What do they do? Well, the same thing they did the other 14, 15 years when the offense, ran with one really good receiver. And
that's fair.
I don't want to say it cast the guys, but it cast the
guys.
And they looked really good.
But they were good at what they did. Like more in the slide, Devery deep, Meechin. Right? They had specific skill sets, and the Saints were able to,
And the only other year was the year with Mike and Cooks and Willie Snead. That was the other year that they were really loaded, and they decided immediately they didn't need it. It wasn't a necessity. Break it off, and guess what? They got better.
Yeah, that's fair. That's what happened. Yeah,
right.
They drafted. It was different. They got drafted, and they had good defense and stuff. And
but losing that wide receiver 2 didn't change anything.
Yeah,
the offense got better. I don't know.
Would be nice to have. It would have been nice to keep Emmanuel Sanders though. That would have made me feel a lot better. But listen, I think, like I said, they evaluate these things, and I'm hanging my hat on the fact that that without a condensed field, that the offense will open up more, and that's going to give Sean way more field to coach.
Bend the theory. Theory.
Yep. All right. Question: Did I insult Taysom Hill by not listing him as a weapon in 2019? Yes or no?
I don't know how to list Taysom on anything, man.
All right. Did I compliment him by not listing him on this list as a weapon? Because I think
that's how Taysom wants to be seen. So I think maybe you do.
Taysom wants to be a quarterback. So
Taysom wants to be a quarterback.
So with that said, Nick, are we giving Taysom a fair shot? This last topic, right? Are we giving Taysom a fair shot? It seems like, people are, pretty much penciling in Winston as the quarterback, and I might be guilty of that. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Probably more so than not. But yeah, are we giving this guy a fair shake at it?
I think so. I mean, we've talked about it through the prism of Jameis probably being the favorite. I think that's probably true. But I can only speak for my own record. I had a tweet a couple of weeks ago just saying that, as much as people don't want to admit it, this is a true quarterback battle. And these guys will go into camp and they'll compete, and the winner will be crowned. Nothing's decided right now. And, I know the people that support Jameis Winston don't like that idea, and they think it's comical. And look, maybe it is. Maybe that's something that's funny to you. I don't know. Everybody can take it however they want. I don't think it's a joke though. I think that Taysom came close enough to playing quarterback last year that there were enough moments where I think that I don't think he solidified himself, but I think in a race where there isn't a clear person running away from the pack like Secretariat, the racehorse just separating, Usain Bolt just separating whoever. I think that
he bought a lifeline.
Yeah, I think that you find out, he played. Can he come back and make faster decisions? Can he come back? Can he protect the football? Can he come back and make better decisions? Can he get the ball to read 3 in 2.85 seconds? I think that you find out all those things. And maybe the answer is no to all of them. But I think you'd be hurting your team if you don't find that out.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
It's dumb. Like, you don't have Breeze anymore. It's
dumb. None of these guys are. I mean, nobody's guaranteed, really. Like, it's kind of.
I'm as optimistic about Jameis as anybody.
Yeah,
but look at the contract.
Boom.
2 years in a row. Like, people get really mad when you say, like, hey, it's a battle. Like, look at the contracts. I don't understand, like, where I'm not saying anything. The league's saying it. He didn't start last year
or the year before.
Like, he's not a solidified starter. Like, I'm sorry. And again, I think he has a chance to be really good in this offense, but like, that's just what it is. And again, I think he's a front runner. I do. I think he's a front runner, but that's just a reality. I think that his last time on the field showed that he can be in competition with somebody else. I don't think he ran away from anything. He didn't start in 20.
Yeah.
He's brought back on a salary that if he doesn't touch the field would be a backup salary. If he touches the field, very easy for him to earn starter money. And I think he's going to probably earn every dollar in that incentive package. I expect him to win the job. I do. I mean, he's the guy that I would bet on right now. We'll see. That can change quickly. Going into it, though, he's the guy that I would put all my money on to win it. And I think he gets every incentive. I think he has a solid season. 4,000 yards, 20-some, maybe 30 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. That's probably where I'd put the numbers. But again, he's in this spot because that's what the league said is where he belongs.
Yeah, those are just the facts, though, right? I mean, the contract, no one. I'm pretty sure if someone offered him a starting position this year, he takes that, right? Those are like not. It's 32. It's only 32 teams in the league, so there's only 32 starting quarterbacks. So if someone offer you one of 32 jobs in America, you take it, right? So. Yeah, I just think I think that's fair. It's just interesting because I was listening to a pod and it was a fantasy pod and guys cover they cover basically the whole league, right? Because it's fantasy. And it was just it was a little bit different talking point than you hear in New Orleans, because there is like, oh, Taysom is the guy, right? Like, oh, he's a running quarterback and he gives you all this. And
he wasn't though.
And that's what I was getting to. I was like, well, it's okay they think that because they're not in New Orleans, but like he was a horrible runner. Like he was a terrible runner. He didn't run. Right. And so it's just like a little bit of an interesting talking point. And so, it's interesting and it kind of made me think like, okay, well, like in New Orleans, he's already the third tight end or second tight end, however you feel about being that. And outside of there, it's like, okay, well, maybe it's just different. So I was just kind of interested in, like, it kind of made me think like, okay, well, are we selling this guy short? And, we'll see. Yeah. And so like, and I know you and Trip talked about it when you guys were here, but, just to kind of like refresher and we'll finish up, like, how soon do you think they need to make a decision on their starter? Like, do you think this battle goes up into the first preseason game? Does it go first couple of weeks? Does it go right up into the season? Like how drawn out is this battle in your opinion?
I backed off on that take a little bit because I think the passing offense would remain largely the same. I don't think it's drastically different for either guy. Maybe I think in either case you probably simplify things a little bit from what Breeze was doing and maybe start off at a spot where you aren't trying to pick up 15 years of evolution and cliff notes and all this stuff. I think you probably take it down a little bit and make it a little bit easier for those guys to succeed. So I think the passing offense would probably remain largely the same. The designed runs, I don't think, are really an issue because they already know how to block those. So I don't know. I think it could probably go pretty far. I go back to the year that Taysom started doing all the crazy stuff. Like they didn't do any of that in camp. So they do like a little walkthrough inside and then come outside. I think there's some stuff that if you want to keep it hidden, that's maybe specialized for one guy or the other, you can walk through it a little bit. And you don't necessarily have to rep it if you feel comfortable with some of those things. And they aren't doing live tackling anyhow. So like, what's the value in live repping a run really?
Yeah.
I think you're fine with it. So I think it can go quite a while. I think we'll probably go through the whole preseason and you might not know. You might not know for sure. So yeah, I think it can go for a while. And look, back to the little Jameis rant, like just the whole thing. It's crazy to me that people act like it's disrespectful to say that like there's another person in the conversation. The head coach says it. Like it's not an opinion. Like that's what's going to happen. They're going to battle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm with you. I think that he's the front runner.
He has way more upside. Significantly so.
Yeah, significantly more upside.
And his upside, I think his upside is more realistic.
I mean,
maybe that's unfair, but based on what we saw, I just feel like it's more realistic that Jameis's upside is much more attainable than Taysom's.
Yeah. And I think that, like, say Taysom is a 7, Jameis is a 6.5. I still think you're better off starting Jameis because you can use them both. put Taysom on the field in other positions, right? Like it, and it's just me. I kind of feel like Taysom has to kind of run away with it because he's going to be nullified in other areas. He can't play special teams. He can't. There's all these other things that he would normally do, which is valuable to the team. You can construct your roster differently with this guy, right? If he's your tight end, he's your gunner, I don't know what else he is, H-back, fullback when you want him to be, linebacker, if he tried it, right? So, you got so much versatility with him. So I kind of feel like, and, just correct me, let me know if you think differently, but I kind of feel like, Taysom maybe has to beat out Jameson a little bit more than Jameson. He has to beat out Jameis more than Jameis has to beat him out because he's valuable in so many other ways.
I feel like if it's a 0.5, they go with the 0.5.
Okay.
I think you got to start the better quarterback.
Yeah.
No matter what.
If it's that close, be hard to tell, but
yeah, and especially if the team knows somebody won, you have to go with the guy that won. You have to. If it was clear that somebody, 0.5 will be hard to tell, but if one guy's a 6, one guy's a 7, I don't think that you can.
Yeah, that's
you can say we need Taysom in these other, like if Taysom's better, you got to start the better player.
Yeah, that's probably fair. If it's close, if it's a tie, then maybe Jameis. I guess that's what I'm saying. Or even if it's like barely Taysom, I could see it being Jason.
Yeah, sure.
Jameis,
if it's like indiscernible or splitting hairs, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, but if Taysom is barely over Jameis, I can see a scenario where Jameis still goes. But if Jameis is barely over Taysom, I don't see it. I guess I'm saying I don't see a scenario where it's the other way around.
No.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna leave that alone. Yeah, I saw she was looking. I was like, nope, not happening.
No,
we ain't got no time left to go there, man. We actually do. That'd be quick. But yeah, so I mean, we'll see how this thing turns out. Like I said, I think that, when Coach Payton talks about Jameis, I guess I got this interview in my head, and I think he did it with the Steve Weich Hustle and Flow podcast. I think it was Hello and Flow, and he mentioned the leadership, like Drew and Teddy and Jameis. They all like leaders, and I was waiting for that Taysom plug, and it didn't come up. And I don't know if it was because they were asking him about Jameis, but he brought up Teddy, so I was like, why? So it's just like I kind of feel like when it comes like the leadership and the stuff that Coach Payton talks about that's required of that position, Jameis just has a little bit more of it because maybe he's done it. He said that his personality is something that people gravitate to. That's the kind of stuff that makes me think it's going to be him. It's just like the way he talks about him, and I know how important that is to Coach Payton. So that's my
the way he's talked about him all offseason is kind of led me to the point where and we might be reading into things that aren't true. It's just might all just be chatter, and
you got to happen it's got to play out on the field, man. It's got to play out on the field. So guys, so one more thing, everybody in chat. I need you guys to do me a favor. If you're not signed up for NewOrleans.Football, I need you to make that happen for real. Especially if you're in here, you're listening, you're supporting, you're checking out these pods. There's an article on the site right now about the first round pick from last year, and it's pretty dang good. It's pretty dang good. Like one of my favorites that I've read in a while. So that just dropped today. Nick tweeted it out. Really good article. It just kind of breaks down, like, I'm not gonna get an article away because that wouldn't be fair to the people who support, but it just kind of
broke down all the ways that Cesar Ruiz struggled and why some of that stuff could change.
And why it may not be and some of the stuff is not as bad as you think it is. Some of it is. So it's just it's context. And it's like it's easy for someone to say Cesar Ruiz didn't have a good season. Wouldn't argue with it. Just let's get that clear. We're not about to defend that season. But I don't want someone to tell me he sucks. I want someone to tell me where he struggled. Why did he struggle? What did he struggle with? Is it something that can be improved upon? Right. That's a football question. Right. That's detail. That's nuance. Right. And that's the type of stuff that you're going to get if you sign up. Right. That article is outstanding. I read it today, and I can't recommend it enough. So that's just one of the hundreds of articles in the archive. And the good thing about these off-season articles is they're all relevant, man. You can go back and read them. Yeah, they don't go stale. The game ain't no games being played. They're all good. So if you sign up now, you got like months worth of Saints football right there in the tuck. Podcasts about it, members only pods. Those are fun. So I'm just letting you guys know, man, go sign up, support. Just people that's already supporting. Just
thank you.
Yeah, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't here. Nick wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. So you guys make this thing go. So yeah, we definitely want to say thanks. So all right, guys. Well, we're gonna end it now. Again, sign up. If you're not signed up, tell someone to sign up. Podcast reviews are great. We really appreciate those. Positive or negative feedback. I try to read it. So thank you guys there. If you're on YouTube, liking and subscribing is like really helpful. So if you guys are like Nick fanatics, you're like Team Underhill, you just go to town for Nick. Just like and subscribe, man. Get your girl YouTube account, like and subscribe there. Do what you can. Just get these numbers up, man. But anyway, guys, thank you guys for the support. You guys stay safe. With that said, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next week. We out.